All right, welcome in, folks, to the Can We Kick It podcast. I'm co-host Mike, along with Chuck here.
Rock and roll.
Too much rock for one hand.
Yeah. Is he? Eh. Wait, you're supposed to do
Yeah, I got to
this.
do them down. Yeah, I got to do them
Yeah.
down. Yeah, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. How you doing, bro?
Pretty good, man. Watching the Bengals and Cowboys shit out a nice Monday night football losing record, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm doing similar, but I'm watching the Simpsons version on Disney Plus.
That
So
makes it more entertaining for sure.
yeah. No, it's funny. Just quick aside on the Simpsons. Um, it's a long story short, but our friend Bob sent um a GIF of from a Simpsons episode, and it was actually one of my favorite episodes. It's called Homer at the Bat. It's like season 3, episode 16 or something, and they play softball against another power company from I think Shelbyville,
Of
and
course.
they get all these ringers. Have you seen it?
No,
It's
no.
like the oh, you gotta watch it. It's the greatest. They have like Roger Clemens, Daryl Strawberry, Ozzie Smith, Jose Canseco, Steve Sachs, Mike Sosha. So it's all these guests. I think it's one of their first kind of big guest star episodes. And they all work at the plant and become ringers for their company softball team. And Ken Griffey Jr. like gets his giant head from drinking this nerve tonic that Mr. Burns gives him. And that's what like but we watched that on my birthday last week because I'm like
Nice.
or Bob sent us something on it, and then I was like, "Oh, that's some from my favorite Simpsons episode." But
That's awesome.
um,
I love when
but yeah,
cartoons do that when they cartoons have like baseball or softball leagues, and they always seem
yeah,
to hire like great baseball players as like temporary employees. Like King of the Hill did that, and they hired like Kurt Bavakwa to like be a lead off batter. It's so funny.
uh,
Yeah,
but yeah,
man.
we're enjoying some football, and you know, and then
Yeah.
talking a lot of hockey these days.
Love
Um,
hockey if the Rangers could pull it together. Yeah.
yeah, they're having a rough one there. They were I don't know what happened with my phone, but they were
Oh yeah,
losing
they're
two
playing
to
the
one
Hawks.
earlier.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
it was 2-1. They
Blackhawks were
traded
they 8-13, right? Oh, they lost 2-1.
2-1. Good God.
Blackhawks 9-17-2.
Yeah, they're gonna fire their GM by the end of the season. I got a feeling.
But yeah, after going to the Flyers game in Philly, my hockey love has been I've literally just been watching watching hockey and playing NHL 90 or 95, NHL 95, NHL 2025 on PlayStation. But and then trying
Yeah,
to
man.
watch some shows, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hockey's good. Football season's almost over, so now we're gearing into some TV. I think we're going back to some of the older shows. I
Hmm.
think there's only really two shows kind of out right now that we're really devoted to watching. One being Silo, which is only on like episode 3 or 4,
4, yeah.
and
This week was 4. Last week was
and
4.
then Shrinking has like 3 episodes left. So it's like episode 9. You just started that one, but we'll get to that. And then you're rewatching Boardwalk Empire, right?
I'm rewatching Boardwalk Empire. I think on the finale of the 3rd season right now.
Nice.
And I've rewatched it, I can't remember exactly when it came out. I think it was 2010. It's
Had to
five
be.
seasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 2010, 5 seasons. Um, I used to rewatch it every year because I go through phases every year where I get really into the history of the Mafia in the US.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I watch a lot of documentaries, but I really like Boardwalk Empire. Steve Buscemi plays Nucky Thompson, based on a real guy, Nucky Johnson, in Atlantic City. And it's got Al Capone and Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, Joe Mazzaria, Johnny Torrio. It's got all these real
Who's the guy that
Bugsy
rigged the World
Siegel,
Series?
Ross, uh, AR.
Oh,
Rothstein.
Rothstein or Rothschild or something like that. Yeah,
It's Rothstein. It's um Arnold Rothstein. Arnold
yeah,
Rothstein.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like his character. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he's great. The guy actor who plays him is phenomenal. And then Michael Shannon
Oh yeah,
plays um
Van
a
Alden.
pro he um Nelson Van Alden, and like just fantastic, fantastic show. It just the rewatch holds up because I mean it's a period piece,
Oh
so
yeah,
it's not like, you know, it's pretty timeless, I think, and it's such a good show. I mean, you got Chalky White, Omar from The Wire.
yeah.
And just the acting is great.
Oh,
The
our guy,
Stephen
Ducky's
Root.
brother.
Oh yeah, you got yeah, Eli Thompson in the show.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
gosh,
who was in what was he into? He was in
we love that guy.
he was the boyfriend in Vice Principals as well.
Shea Wiggum. Shea Wiggum.
Shea
Yeah, yeah,
Wiggum,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Love Shea Wiggum. So good. And then
Yeah.
I think it's funny, like thinking back to Boardwalk Empire. I think Van Alden's character arc may be my favorite of the show.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
know, just
yeah.
something like him getting wrapped up with the Capones, and then like how his
Yeah.
like ending happens, and
Working for Dino Banyan, and
yeah,
and Dino
yeah,
Banyan, all real, like all the all the gangsters are real people, like in
yeah,
the show. So, and that, they take a little liberties
yeah.
with some of the stuff, but
Between
yeah,
him
it's
and
such
the sniper, the army guy with the half face,
yeah,
probably my two favorite characters, other than Steve Buscemi. I mean, the guy crushes it, but yeah,
yeah, that Richard Harrow
yeah,
is
yeah,
the character's name.
yeah,
Um, so good. And Stephen Root, who's in the third season
yeah, yeah.
playing Gaston Means. Um, Stephen Root is always good from Barry and multiple other
Oh yeah,
things. But yeah, a top-notch show, great rewatch because I mean I'm putting about one on a day and just can listen to it, can
yeah.
watch it. Yeah.
It's a good slow burn for a day watch, right? Because it's like an hour long episode,
Hmm.
and it's usually got enough like action in it. So yeah, I do enjoy rewatching that. I probably watched it twice back to back, so I probably due
Yeah.
for a rewatch. Yeah, but
Yeah, it's a I highly recommend. So,
yeah, and I
and
just
you're
started
yeah.
watching The Sopranos, which kind of ties into the whole mob thing. And I've only watched the first episode. So it's an interesting show. It's definitely dated. Obviously, it's like early cell phone. Well, do they even have cell phones? Good lord.
Nah, no, I don't think so.
1999? No,
Or
I guess not.
I mean the early things on the cell phones, kind of like Seinfeld
Yeah.
had the big bag cell phones in the car in that era
Yeah.
maybe, and then um I think I got my first cell phone in like 99, my senior year in college, and it was like a Nokia, and it had like I had like 50 minutes a month.
Good
You know,
lord.
it was like for emergencies basically.
Oh yeah.
So, um, but
But yeah,
yeah,
the the Sopranos is just like it's late 90s, early 2000s. Like Tony's going to therapy, and this is my thing. Like the show is 9 years, almost 10 years after Goodfellas, and the show is just every other character is was in the movie Goodfellas. Like
yeah,
his therapist was Karen Hill. They talk about Henry. It's so meta almost. I don't like meta things, but I'm
yeah.
gonna watch it because I like it. But I see her and she's like Dr. Melfi, and I'm like I all I can see and hear is like her and Henry Hill, Ray Liotta,
Well,
and then
Michael Imperioli played Spider,
Spider.
and
Yep.
um, and then the guy with the I always forget his name, but he's in like every Mafia movie and
Oh yeah.
TV show.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a good. That's also a good cast. That's these are times when HBO was making such high quality stuff, and like I watched Sopranos once. Like I binge watched it after. I never watched it when it was on HBO, Sunday nights or whatever.
Yeah.
I binge watched all 7 seasons, probably like I don't know, around 2010 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but
Just a few
it's
years
been a
after it ended.
while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was good. Um, like I love, like I said, love gangster, love mafia stuff. I really enjoyed it. Um, I wouldn't quite put it as my favorite, show of all time because I think I honestly this is where
Yeah.
you and I were talking before because I think Boardwalk Empire is better. I've seen both of them, both of the series all the way through,
I could see that.
and but I think maybe it might be my bias for that era of gangster from like the early 1900s to like the 1950s, and
Yeah.
then like the modern Mafia is a little different, and even like with John Gotti and other stuff. But like going back, maybe from the early 1900s to the 1970s, um, is a different era, and then nowadays with the Mafia. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just partial to
Well,
that
this
era of.
does Mafia, right? Like, does the '90s Mafia lose out to the lore of like, and talking like New York Mafia, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Does it lose out to like '90s, early 2000s Boston Mafia? Because when I think like early 2000s, it's like '07. We're talking The Departed.
Yeah, well, I think you think of that. I think you think of the Departed, and you think of that. You think of Whitey Bulger.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
Boston Mafia is. But I think the Boston Mafia is almost like is in the newer is a little different. Like I
yeah,
think when you had the early 1900s, you had like the five families in New York, and you also had Chicago and how they would kind of, in New York, they had the commission, a whole governing body for
yeah,
organized crime across the country. Um, and that Luciano and Meyer Lansky, um, you know, put together, and they, how they could kind of it was almost run like a corporation, I think it was just how
almost.
they kind of almost, I mean, there's still, I mean, it still fell apart, and, you
Yeah,
still had, people moving on other people and the hits and everything like that. But, um, yeah, I think they, especially when you get like into like with Rothstein, and
yeah,
you had more. I mean, this was Boston. I mean, Boston's somewhere too. You had more like, yeah, the Irish, you had the Jewish, you had the Italians. They didn't cross too much. What made kind of a little bit change was Luciano working with Lansky, um, instead of Joe Masseria, and working with Lansky and Rothstein.
yeah.
Um, because usually the Italians didn't, um, cross into other crime families. But um, so I think it's just the history is it kind of set the stage in the U.S. for organized crime, or it brought it to life and
Yeah,
romanticized it, maybe. And I
yeah,
think also you had the period of Prohibition where it just made it
true.
more prevalent.
It
And
romanticized it. Yeah,
yeah, and it was really great. As there's in season 3 of Boardwalk Empire, Andrew Mellon is played by James Cromwell, and he's like basically calls Prohibition like a forced, um, fake morality
yeah,
play. Like,
yeah,
it's just like think about this time, like, I mean, you think about it with like weed and other things nowadays that are kind of legal, but were not legal before. And how like, there was a period where you couldn't buy alcohol legally in the US. And um, but guess what? People still found ways to it just opened it up for criminal empire. Just like if you think like
Exactly.
marijuana, right? Tons of people smoked weed, and they're getting it legally from,
Yeah.
you know,
Just because it's not on the shelf
planes
doesn't
and
mean it's not
ships
for
and
sale.
yeah.
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 So it's a very interesting study and like people's vices and the criminality that when you make something illegal, there's still a demand for it,
Yeah.
and it's gonna create an alternative sourcing strategy, which is illegal and run by criminals versus, you know, other means. But sometimes they run it better, more cost
Yeah.
efficient.
Well, then it
uh,
used to be much more brutal, I think, like in terms of
yeah,
like the amount of force used. Because think back like early 1900s, they would just wipe a whole crew out.
yeah,
And fingerprints and all that stuff. So they'd be like, oh, it's probably the mafia. And then you just like write it
yeah,
off, right? Whereas like today, it's like, oh, like poor guy, like some CEO gets shot in the back of the head. All these corporations are just mafia too, man. I'm getting into the weeds
yeah,
now, but like it's the same shit. It's
yeah,
just a different level.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that's why if you would ask, you know, the mafia, they're just basically providing a service for profit, just like any business and any consumer goods uh, manufacturer does.
Yep. And
So,
that's what I liked about Boardwalk Empire is like even like the government people who enacted prohibition
yeah.
were on the take. Like they were
Well,
getting their
that's
10%. Like they don't care.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the whole, I don't, and I think this was maybe made up for the show, but like, Nucky Thompson turns in George Remus, who was actually the biggest bootlegger in the world in the
Yeah.
U.S. and and exchange Mellon has him run the Overholt distillery in Pennsylvania that he owns. So it's like what he would never contact him again, and he'll never, there's no connection there. So but
Yeah.
it's just like everybody has and it's just like today in modern politics with, you know, buying stock and having accessibility to, as people in politics inside information and able to make money off of their power and position. I mean, that's as old as time,
Oh yeah.
within politics. But yeah, so it's good. I think it highlights. I don't think you get so deep with the Sopranos.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and and it's not based off of real history and stuff. So
No. Yeah.
um but Sopranos is good. It's more like I would say it's more like a dramedy, but based in a mafia kind
Yeah.
of family, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Struggling with wanting to stay in power, trying to retain the power, trying to keep
yeah,
your family together, and all that kind of stuff. Now
yeah.
we were talking earlier about how we like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I would love to have seen Philip Seymour Hoffman recast as Tony Soprano. Just
Oh,
two
you could
big
be
guys
like,
just going at it. Yeah,
yeah. Make a
but
big
yeah,
pussy or one of the other characters.
little pussy or big pussy. Yeah, yeah. God, that show's great. So I'll keep watching that. I'll let you know how I keep going through that, and then um, you started watching Shrinking. Yeah, you watched the first
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
And what were your initial thoughts? You liked it, right?
I thought it was great. I was a little like, I really like, you know, I kind of went through this when we watched the first season of Shrinking. It was just something kind of it was like, I watched a lot of shows last year on Apple TV that were just like, like the Big Door Prize and Shrinking and that, and a bunch of, and I can name more, but that I didn't know anything about. I just saw it on there. I'm like, okay. And
Yeah,
then Shrinking turned into a phenomenon. And I really didn't like I mean, it was good, but like the first half of the season
it was fair.
was average, I guess, for me. And then by the end, it was great.
Yeah,
And I think as Harrison Ford I think he kind of overtook the the show and his relationship with his daughter and then the doctor and then just being funny as hell. Um,
Yeah, him getting stoned at Brian's engagement party,
yeah,
like at the end of the first, like yeah, he stole every scene that he was in, and it's like
yeah,
okay, they figured that character out. Yeah,
yeah. But it is interesting. Like, so season two so far in the first episode, like there's a shocker at the end that we'll talk about. But you know, it's interesting to see. I mean, because you see this in real life, but like, um, and I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but the main character,
Jason Segel. Yeah,
Jason Segel, is like he falls back and something triggers him and he falls back into the same patterns as before. And his daughter called him out for doing that. And then when he's triggered and he falls back into the same pattern, he doesn't realize it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, he should realize that he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever he is.
yeah,
But then I think about people in real life that get triggered by events, and even if they have coping mechanisms to deal with it or experts, then they still can't handle it. Like
right.
there's always just some kind of trigger. So like um but it's really like I have a hard time watching it. And not because it's good, but or not because it's bad, but because it's good. And like I have to be in a mood to go through like a kind of mental or grief
Yeah.
or that kind of experience, even when there's comedy. Because like I mean, like The Leftovers is one of my favorite shows, and I would watch an episode of that a day,
Whew.
but I can't because mentally I
No,
could not deal with like
you would talk about
the
dread.
grief and the dimension. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's the same thing like Somebody Somewhere, which is one of my favorite shows, and the finale was Sunday, which we're a few episodes behind. But and it's the sweetest show, and um Bridget Evers, I think is her name, that plays the main character, is like phenomenal, funny as shit. Um it's such a great series. But like I also have to be in the mood to watch that because some of it's like a little depressing because
Yeah.
Bridget Everett. It's just so like it's because it's about people, right? So we
Yeah.
can watch, you watch Boardwalk Empire, it's like, oh, 20s gangsters, you know what it's about. You can watch Penguin, it's like, a comic book mafia story. You can watch Game of Thrones and it's like, fantasy.
It's not
Um,
terribly relatable
it's
to real life. Yeah.
yeah. But when you watch these relatable shows, like Shrinking, and it I think it just Bill Lawrence is the master at this, as he did it with Scrubs and he did it with Ted Lasso and he does it with Shrinking. So it's hard sometimes because I have to be like right in the mood to watch that. And I watched the first episode of Shrinking because I'm like, I gotta watch one to get going. And I watched it in the end of it, Roy Kent or what's the actor's name?
Brett Goldstein.
Brett Goldstein shows up in Jason Segel's office and he was like the drunk driver that killed his wife. And I'm like, I can't. I can't watch another one. I can't go through this now. Like uh but it's such a phenomenal show. Um and when we talk about Silo next, I can watch that because it's not relatable
Yeah,
to me. And
whatsoever.
I can
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
Shrinking is good, but it's a show that requires like emotions, right? Like you get hooked into it and then you're like feeling bad for these people, but yeah, Brett Goldstein shows up and like you said, he's the drunk driver who killed like Jason Segel's wife. And like his character, pops in and out of the show as it goes on. Like you'll see if you keep watching. But
yeah,
it got to the point where like we were putting it off on watching it, and then we finally sat down and watch it, and now we can't like wait for it to come out on Wednesdays.
yeah.
And so it's so good. So yeah, recommend anybody to watch that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think I just got to get like I got to get like really happy, and I
Yeah,
need something to bring me back down.
yeah, level you out.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, I get like Ted Lasso was a little bit like that, and
yeah,
Scrubs was a little bit like that because there was always some kind of thing at the hospital, and
yeah,
the Brendan Fraser episode of that of Scrubs was like one of the best episodes of network TV, and it's just yeah, I have to sometimes I have to be in the mood because it's easier for me to like I'm gonna go watch an episode of Boardwalk Empire
yeah,
because I can just immerse myself in that world and I've seen it before and I know it's going to happen
yeah,
and then be mentally prepared for something I don't know what's going to happen.
yeah. You're not
But
emotionally surprised at all. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I want to be in my feelings and sometimes I don't. So
So, and sometimes we like to lock ourselves into a silo, like Silo or Solo.
yeah, yeah. We could be solo in a silo for so many years, and then all of a sudden Juliet Lives comes along, uh, and totally fucks up vault our love for a vault.
It's
So
Silo's just now getting interesting to me.
yeah,
Um, it's what the
first four episodes a little slow burn, but I think this one kind of it starts to take off. I think hopefully.
especially at the end. Yeah. So we didn't talk about last week's, but it kind of blends in, right? Because Juliet's in the other silo, and she finally gets Solo to come out of his vault and
Hmm.
do all of that. Took her 3 episodes to do that. Um, and then this episode, right, is about them trying to keep the revolt from happening in the original silo, and Juliet's trying to get back, and she's having to go underwater to get a fireman's, outfit.
Yeah,
And Tim Robbins is like the master puppeteer trying to play this whole thing, and um, I'm finally glad that he's finally got his scapegoats. He's got
yeah,
the next foot in the guillotine now to hold Mechanical, as the culprit, because apparently every rebellion in the silo has always been blamed on Mechanical.
yeah,
So now he's got it pinned on them for supposedly killing the head judge, right?
yeah.
Which is crazy. Didn't I say it's crazy? I
I,
kind of saw that coming when he was like, "Oh, you should come on over for dinner. I got your suit over here." And it's just like, yeah, he's gonna
yeah,
like push you down the stairs or something.
yeah. Well, and then I knew as soon as the mayor came out and said, she's not feeling, or Tim Robbins came out and said she's not feeling well, and then he's like, we're not leaving or whatever until we can see him, and then he's like, okay, or they drop the red ball and turn off the lights, and then the green ball to turn it back on. I'm like, he's gonna set them up,
Oh yeah,
like, and he did. And then you know what, like, Common, I just don't. I like Common as a rapper and stuff, but I just don't. When he at the very end is getting the upper middle class riled up about Mechanical,
yeah.
I that doesn't like him
It
getting
didn't
them
do it for
hyped
me.
up.
No,
No, I'm like, this is they're like I would be one of those people going, wait, something seems fishy here.
it
Like
doesn't add up.
yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. You get more like I think the order. So we see the book,
Yeah,
we see the order and how they maintain, you know, the 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 serenity of not serenity, but the functionality of the
symbiosis.
silo.
Yeah,
And and it basically and it's to me it's interesting because I think, mechanical so hear me out for a second. Everything is to blame mechanical. Mechanical basically runs everything. Everything down below runs the whole silo. So they know the ins and outs of this. They drop the fucking red ball a million feet down and they turn off the power. Why not? Wouldn't their plan be like, hey, we're going to plan for all these scenarios. If we're fucked again, I've got another red ball, turn off the power, get into your like fighting positions and make them come down to you and and build fucking weapons. Like they get all the shit down there. I d- like you have countries like it's Syria right now. Like rebels go in and like now the head of Syria is like flying to another country and like
Yeah.
a rebel government take over. But like these people in mechanical are only people that do stuff in the silo. Like, you know, take the trash out and like recycle things and keep the lights on and whatever. They should be wrecking shop. Like now we see in the other silo from the first episode, they overthrew and they all went outside and then you know,
Yep.
but it destroyed the whole silo. So I don't know. I guess it goes back to the kind of it's like classism,
Yeah.
but it's like here, blame the poor people. Um, the rich people are gonna put, you know, the upper class and class war against the poors and
Yeah.
you know so I
That's
mean
the
it's
ultimate tool of the silo is in order to restore order, disorder has to take place. But in
yeah,
order to have disorder, you have to have an enemy. And it's easier to do it with mechanical because they don't control IT.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So what is I mean IT, so I know they have cameras everywhere, and but Juliet, they just down below, they just she told them about the cameras, and everybody was taking the cameras out. So what else does IT do? I mean, besides like put the screens up on the outside and puts like the 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 VR glasses on in the spacesuit, and Tim Robbins has been hoarding fucking Costa Rican
VR
surf
goggles.
VR goggles. Um, you know,
So much so that
in
he can
this.
tell you what happens without having them on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the show does a disservice to IT because in the books they're far more powerful
yeah,
than the show was projecting them to be. Um, there's some things that will probably come out by the end of the season that um, they're strong. They have weapons. IT does. For
yeah,
what it mechanical is led by weak people for the most part because like somebody went to somebody and was like, "Hey, don't make any weapons if anybody asks you." And it's like, why don't you stay out of it? Like
yeah, yeah,
um but it's just an interesting show that has to deal with class and trying to stay in control, right? And the
yeah.
judge had like little to no part in the book. So they wrote her up big in the show. And then for her to
Well, in the
die,
first season, she didn't have.
no.
It's just second season it became like, and then as soon as she starts getting more involved, then she
And
dies.
questioning
But
and wanting to go outside and all of it. And Tim Robbins is like, yeah, it's not gonna. Like, he doesn't tell her up front, but he's like, yeah, it's not gonna
yeah,
happen. Like you're gonna die. And for me, I agree. Like Common is a completely underutilized part in the show, because for me, if you want to give that speech about justice and they killed the judge and all that stuff, they should have shot it like Wolf of Wall Street, where Leo DiCaprio is giving his sales speech on the trading floor about being
yeah,
telephone terrorists. You got to be like up
yeah,
in their face and like screaming at
yeah,
people. That's how you got to present it. Because to me, he was like giving it between like the army and the citizens, and I'm just like, who am I gonna believe here? Like this dude looks like a fucking dictator.
yeah, yeah. He needs some Jordan Belfort,
Need
fucking
some coke
energy.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just almost like the problem with Common's character is like I can't tell if he's like towing the line between feeling bad for what he's doing as Tim Robbins, judicial hammer, or like if he likes doing it.
Yeah,
Because I can't tell because he's not his acting isn't good enough to give me
no,
like what he's feeling.
yeah. It's like okay,
And
is he really agree with Bernard? Is he really out for the silo, or is he really out for himself because doing the
yeah,
whole impeach the judge thing was to get back on Bernard's side?
yeah.
And it's like,
And
I just
then
don't know what his character's like aspirations are. Does he want to take over control of the silo? Does he want to be the head of IT? Because he was a shadow, but he lost that position. So like,
yeah, because he went and saw his kids or something. Like
yeah,
it just
it sounds to me like the head judge position is open. I would angle for that job.
yeah. Yeah, there's a vacancy.
Yeah.
There no one's
So,
gonna nominate Juliet because she's in the other silo.
exactly. Who else are they going to put in the head judge spot? Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting to see if there is one and if you said it's not a prevalent character in the book, right?
Yeah. It's not that I've in the first two books, not that I've
Yeah.
gotten to yet, but for them to, and then you've got the sheriff who's like doing his own investigation, and he's like on the cusp of finding out that it's a conspiracy, which obviously that dude's going to either die or it's going to get lost in the flames of war, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to give a shit.
Yeah.
He's definitely going
Yeah.
to be too late. I have a feeling.
I mean, you don't have, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this is a different world, but I mean, you don't have to be a fucking genius to see that this
Yeah,
is a conspiracy.
something doesn't add up. Yeah, but
But
I'm looking forward to how they are going to bridge the gap to the books, because I'm sure by the end of the season, we still got what, 8 episodes left, 6 episodes left.
yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, because it's 10 episodes, right?
Yeah. So Julia gets back, and then assuming, right? I think that's what we all assume is going to happen. Then what?
Yeah.
I don't know where they take it from there. She leads a silo, and then what?
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you think we're gonna get in this season? Like, I mean, like, do you think Juliet makes it back to the other silo?
I think by the end of the season, she does. And either she's about to take over from Bernard,
Hmm.
and either he voluntarily goes out to clean, or they kill him by making him go out to clean.
Who, Bernard?
Yeah.
You
Like
think
whether or
Tim
not
Robbins
she's
is
there or
only
not,
gonna be one season?
I think he's ultimately gonna, like, that will probably be the end of it. Will him
Yeah.
being like, him is walking out and being and doing the cleaning, and he like dies like everybody else. But there will be one more big reveal, I think, that they're building up to, and I don't want to give it away yet.
Yeah. Is it in the first book?
Oh yeah, yeah. And there are hints of it in the show.
Yeah.
Like Bernard's in the server room, and he's got that key that says 18 that lights up and all that shit.
Yeah.
All of those are little hints for something else. That will be the big reveal.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's interesting because like Silo or Solo, right, was a
yeah,
shadow
yeah,
for the other Silo.
right,
And he knows the existence of the other silos and talking to Juliet, hey, you came from this one or this one or this one, these are the
right.
closest one. And so yeah, I mean, I think everybody in, well, at least the head of IT and the shadow and the mayor or the mayor and the judge, everybody will know because Bernard is the mayor and the head of IT now.
Yeah, he's the very fortunate one of being the only one to ever be IT head and mayor.
But is he doing dual hatting?
Yeah,
Because initially the mayor was the lady
yeah,
and the guy that the other famous actor that was a sheriff for a
yeah,
while.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
then they kind of liked each other.
They don't have anybody to nominate for mayor, right? So Bernard just takes it over in order to maintain control, right?
I'm
But
the mayor and the head of IT,
yeah, and so we know
dictator for life.
we know there are other silos, and we've questioned whether or not they're connected.
Yeah.
How do we know that there's not somebody that Bernard answers to?
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. And there's got to be some kind of like, I'm just trying to think of like, is there some kind of board of directors, like just thinking about the board in Severance that's
Yeah,
unseen,
yeah.
like someone
Fallout
that's in
style
charge.
almost. Yeah,
Yeah, someone that's in charge of all the silos that the head of IT reports to, and they have, communication with um somehow. And I'm sure, like, we talked about, I think there's some interconnectivity that could possibly be underground, under the water, and tunnels and different things like that. So,
yeah.
but we'll see. I need to start reading the books again. I read like I think about the first 50 pages of Wool. I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
Um, so
Worst
I need
case,
to
you
get
can
back to
do the
that.
audiobooks. Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to blast through
I
it.
don't know. I can't do audiobooks.
Oh man.
Maybe I'm back to running like 5 miles again at a time. So that'd be a nice. I should do that. It's 50 minutes.
Yeah, you could knock
You
that
know,
out in a week easily. Yeah.
yeah.
And I just started re-listening to Three Body Problem. Um,
Ah,
I've done some research on the books about things that happen later in the books, and it's
yeah.
really science fictionally fascinating, like right up our alley.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Um, there's a lot to get through in Silo. I don't know how far they'll take. If they're going to try to do 4 seasons, from what I've read, we're only halfway. I think they could do it. I just don't know that they're
Yeah.
going to be able to do everything in the book because there's a lot. Um, but it's great. It's getting better. This season is getting better, and I'm going to stick with it,
Yeah.
obviously. But I think we'll see something along the lines of Juliet getting back to the other silo, and Bernard doesn't make it to next season.
Yeah. I'm and I'm guessing that it's got to be the first book's got to be the first and second season, and then the second book will be the third, and the
Yeah,
third book will be the fourth,
yeah.
if they're going to do
The
four
second book
seasons.
shift is it blows the lid off of everything. Yeah,
All right. Yeah, I got to get to reading because I don't know if I can wait. Like, because who knows? Especially, if it's just thinking of Severance, if how popular now silos become, do they start fucking overthinking everything
right.
and spending so much time and rewriting and doing whatever it did to take so long with Silo? I mean,
Severance. Yeah, let's hope
yeah,
they don't get too hit. Like we're afraid that Severance may get too in their heads about it, too
yeah,
meta, too over the top. But we'll talk about Silo next week some more. But we did watch the trailer for Severance that dropped like 2 days ago, and
yeah,
it's insane.
bonkers. Yeah,
We get to
yeah,
see more of the
that,
go room and Hills, and Mark makes an attempt to talk to the board and gets busted by Melchek. Like, dude, I can't wait. We're like 30 days out.
yeah. I'm gonna start um probably the week after Christmas. Start a rewatch of season one to
Let's do
prep.
that.
Yeah, we should put the schedule together leading right up to the day,
Yeah,
um January 17th. So let's do
yeah.
that.
I think we can make it happen. I think we could.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so if you guys haven't checked that out, we'll post it on Instagram. But the trailer for Severance season 2 is out. Tune in. Next week. I don't know, Chuck, if you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, I'm good, bro.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for kicking it with us. Check out the Instagram, the website, podcast platforms. Tune in next week, and as cousin likes to say.
Mahalo.